Most people start their property search completely backwards. They pick a property type first, and then they try to make their life fit inside of it. That's exactly how you end up in the wrong home. And I see it time and time again. Buyers lock into a search that isn't actually serving them. They start looking at the same kind of property over and over and wondering why nothing feels right. And the answer is almost never the market. It's the search. Today, I want to show you a different way to actually think about how you look for property. Because the buyers who end up in the right place aren't the ones who found the perfect property on the first try. They're the ones who figured out what their life actually needed and let that choose the property. So let me show you what that actually looks like in real life. I had a client that I met at an open house. He was looking at a small heritage home, very charming, 3 bedrooms, the kind of property that was actually moved from another neighborhood, salvaged, and then reassembled. And he loved the character, he loved the story, but the sizing wasn't right for where he was in his life. His son was going to be living with him, so we pivoted to 2-bedroom condos. It felt logical. 2 bedrooms, shared space, downtown convenience. We looked, and then something came up in a conversation that changed the whole direction. He developed a thesis, and he believed that land was always going to be worth more to him than buying into a strata corporation. More control. And no strata councils making decisions for you that you have no say in. No surprise assessment showing up in your mailbox. No shared walls with neighbors you didn't choose, just land. Once he said it out loud, we stopped looking at condos entirely. Now, before I go any further, I just want to be clear about something. There is nothing wrong with buying a condo. Heck, I live in a condo myself, and I work with condo buyers every day. For a lot of people, a condo is exactly the right move. It gets you into the market, it builds equity, it gives you a launch pad. And in Vancouver, where detached homes are out of reach for most first-time home buyers, a condo isn't a consolation prize, it's a strategy. You buy a 1-bedroom condo today, you live in it for 5 years, and the market does what the Vancouver markets tend to do over time. You build equity. Now you have a down payment that just didn't exist before. And suddenly the conversation about what comes next, a 2-bedroom, a townhome, a detached home in East Vancouver, becomes a real conversation instead of a hypothetical one. And that's the game. Not finding the perfect property on the first try, but building a position that lets you make the next move when the timing is right. My client's condo search wasn't a wrong turn. It was part of figuring out what he actually needed, and what he needed turned out to be land. We started looking at detached homes on the east side, and what we came up with wasn't what either of us expected. A property in Grandview Woodlands, an older home, good sized lot, full of character. Partner loved it. The previous owner, a realtor, had originally bought it with the intention of putting a triplex on it. The garage had been converted into a studio apartment in the back. And here's the part that told us everything about what we needed to know about the neighborhood. The house next door had already been purchased by a developer, turning it into a duplex. The whole pocket of Grandview Woodlands is being rezoned and repurposed. This wasn't just a home. This is a piece of land with real runway. Here's how it works for him right now. He's going to be in the interior for another, say, 5 to 10 years maybe, before he makes his permanent move back to Vancouver. A family member of his is living in the main house. The studio apartment in the back generates real rental income. And when he's ready to retire into the city, the home is waiting for him in a neighborhood he loves. That's not just a real estate transaction. That's a plan that actually fits his life. Now let me tell you about the neighborhood itself, because Grandview Woodlands is one of those areas that buyers outside of East Vancouver consistently underestimate. It sits right next to Commercial Drive. That means coffee shops, restaurants, independent shops, and a neighborhood that actually has a vibe. And I mean that literally. Commercial Drive on a Saturday morning feels like a neighborhood that knows who it is. Farmer market energy, people who've lived there for 20 years walking next to people who just moved in. A mix you don't manufacture, it just happens over time in areas like this. Young families are moving in. Character homes sitting alongside newer infill development. An urban feel without the downtown price tag and without the downtown vibe that not everyone actually wants once they've lived there for a few years. And that price gap between East Van and West Side is narrowing. East Van is not the affordable alternative it once was, but compared to what you're paying for a 2-bedroom condo in downtown or a detached home on the west side, the math still significantly works in your favor, especially when you factor in what you get. In terms of a detached, you're getting land, you're getting control, you're possibly getting a rental suite that offsets your carrying costs in a neighborhood with genuine development upside already baked in. So here's the market reality right now. East Vancouver attached condos are running at 21% sales ratio. That's a seller's market, while downtown sits at 13% and Richmond is in a deep buyer's market territory. East Van is the strongest submarket in the city right now. Mount Pleasant is running at 37%, Victoria is running at 38%, and Knight is sitting at 40%. And on the detached side, the kind of property my client bought, demand in pockets like Grandview Woodlands is being driven by exactly what happened next door to his house. Developers are buying, lots are being rezoned, infill is going up. That's not a neighborhood in transition. That's a neighborhood that is already transitioned. And the buyers who got in are the ones who understood it first. So here's the bigger idea. Most buyers in Vancouver approach their search one property at a time. They find something they like, then they buy it, then they figure out their next move later. The buyers who build real wealth here think differently. They ask, what does this property need to do for me right now? And how does it set me up for what comes next? Let me make that concrete. Stage one, you get into the market. A 1-bedroom condo in a well-run building in a neighborhood with strong rental demand. You're not buying your forever home. You're buying your first position. Stage two, you need more space. Maybe a 2-bedroom condo, maybe a townhome. You sell the 1-bedroom, you take the equity and you step up. Stage three, you want land, you want control, you want something that can do more than one thing at once. It can house you, it can generate income, and it sits on a lot that developers are already circling. That's East Vancouver. That's Grandview Woodlands. That's where my clients ended up. Not because it was their first instinct, because it was the honest answer to what his life actually needed. None of those stages are wrong. They're just different. And the buyers who win in Vancouver are the ones who know which stage they're in and choose accordingly. I want to hear from you on this one. Where are you in that journey right now? Are you in stage one, trying to get your foot in the door? Stage two, needing more space, not sure where to go next? Or are you already thinking about land and what comes after? Drop it in the comments below, because knowing where you are is usually the first step to figuring out where you're going. So here's where I stand on this. East Vancouver and Grandview Woodlands specifically is one of the most underrated moves a buyer can make in this city right now. Strong market fundamentals, a neighborhood with genuine character and real development upside. And for the right buyer at the right stage, land does more than just hold value. The best move isn't always the one you started with. It's the one that fits where you're actually going. If you're trying to figure out what that move looks like for you, whether it's a condo, a detached home, East Vancouver, or somewhere else entirely, the link to book a call is in the description. No pitch, just a straight conversation about what actually makes sense for you and the stage that you're in. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.